Hey everyone, Tordug again. Thought I would add some info on an achievement I found particularly difficult to do. It's the Gone or Not Forgotten in Farm Sim 22. It's a little bit different than most of the achievements in this game, which will happen fairly organically just by going through doing different crops, doing different things, different productions, etc. This one requires that you sell 40 bales of cotton in one play session. So you cannot do it year by year and sell them and save it and come back next year and do more. You have to stockpile 40 bales and sell them all at once and then save it and then quit once you've got the achievement. So we'll see if we can get this today. I've been working on this for several in-game years, and today in particular, a few hours I've put into gathering cotton bales, stockpiling them. The cotton baling especially was a bit difficult because I was hopping in and out of different machines that had robots doing the gathering, because it's quite tedious, as anyone who's done it before might know. It's well worth hiring hands to do it while you're doing other things, especially since it comes due in October, which is... so does everything else, really. It's a very busy month. So as I drive the last 2 of my 40 bales over to Johnson's, which is the only place you can sell all 40 at once. Any of the other sell points have limits. The fabric, the stitchery, whatever you want to call it, the fabric production center will only take, I think, 20,000 liters, 25,000 liters or something. Which, even with the bales the way I did them, is way more. Like 40 bales would be way too much for it to take. So here we are. They're haphazardly piled up and all over the place. I'm going to end up loading them in one at a time with the bale fork there, which is fine. We're trying it this way as well with 25% bales, which by this I mean there's the John Deere harvester. Let's just do this the easy way. The John Deere harvester will take 25% of the bale in the first compartment, and then it will move kind of in line as it's going. It will move into a second compartment and then continue gathering and then move it again, so the bale would be up to 50%. I kind of set it up here to show what I'm talking about. You can see in the top it says 93%, it's 2335. So when it hits 2500, which is a quarter of a bale, it will move that onto the baling portion of the tractor or the harvester, and then it will continue picking up in the primary part. And then when it gets to 2500 again, it'll move it, it'll be 50%, then 75%, then etc. And then at 10,000 liters, it ejects the bale. However, you can, when robots are doing this, stop them at 2500. As soon as it pushes it into the baling area, you can stop them manually and then eject the bales at 25%, which I'm hoping is going to allow us to do this achievement without using up every bit of cotton in the universe. So you just hit Y and it brings it down, ejects it out even though it's only 25%. If there was another one there, it would first put that down. You'd have to hit it twice to drop it down on the ground, and there you go. Then you just hit go and it's off to the races, etc. But we'll stop him for now. That's kind of how I did it the whole way. I was hopping in and out of 3 different tractors on 3 different fields. Actually, these 2 guys were sharing this one field because it's my mega field. However, it took a couple hours to get through all this. At the same time, I ended up doing my sugar beets and my beans as well, but that's neither here nor there. So we have our 40 bales. Everything's done. Everything's over here. Save it one more time. In case this doesn't work, then I'll end up using this for something else and redoing this with full bales. I've been told you can do it both ways. So I don't know which way is true. Guess now we can just do a countdown. I hope this doesn't take too long. And I can only do about a bale at a time on this thing because it is very heavy. Even at 25%, this tractor just doesn't like it. So I don't know. I think I actually have to drop it or to. There we go. That's one. This is going to take a few minutes. Most of the other bales, or most of the other achievements are much easier. Some of the crops are harder to do. Let me see if I go over this. Yeah, it doesn't do anything until I actually drop it down. So it should be 2. With the exception of grapes and olives, which are a pain to do simply because grapes and olives are a bit of a pain to do, or farm in general. But again, as with most of the others, you can sell them bit by bit every year, and you don't have to worry about doing it all at once, which is the big problem with the cotton. It takes up a lot of space. It's worth a lot of money. And you have to do it in one go, which is why I saved it right before, in case of some unfortunate game crash or bug happening. At least I can start from this point, as opposed to, oh, now I've, gotten rid of a bunch of stuff and saved it, and now I'm screwed. Again, if it doesn't work, then I can go back, and instead of doing this, I can use this for my clothing industry, which is losing money every year while I'm trying to do this achievement. A lot of money, like millions. I usually do not have this much cotton planted. It's the big mega field with the 2 harvesters on it. Everything else is usually other things. But in an effort to finally get this done, this is what I've decided to do. So it is definitely difficult for this little loader to do this. I'd like to try doing 2 at once like I can with the smaller bales, but I just don't think that fork is going to hold it, because these are I think they're like a ton of weight each. And we'll just have to, I know I have 40 here, I just have to hope that it works with partial bales, because if so, I can let the robots continue doing my harvest, let them output bales that are full size, and put them in my actual clothing production cycle again, and go back to actually making a ton of money that way. Even though these are 25% bales, it's 2,500 liters, there's still 6,000 a piece, so times 40 is going to be 240, or 2 point, no, I don't know, I can't, my math is off right now. Well, that didn't work. Yeah, some of these are definitely slippery and heavy, which is hard for this loader. Like I said, it's a wonderful loader. I strongly recommend telehandlers if you're going to use loaders, because they're just so versatile. But they do have some limitations compared to some of the bigger loaders you can get, which is weight. They will start bogging down and flipping and doing weird stuff. I think this is about half here and then half in that other pile, so we're about a quarter done, I think, at least. I'm shocked that I actually have to drop it on the ground. Usually when a loader rolls over a dump like that, it just automatically takes it off. It does for all my wool and stuff, doing my little sheep barns that are trying to keep my clothing industry going while I'm doing this. Three sheep barns, mostly with babies. I split up one full barn into 3, then they just multiplied, because I wasn't really that concerned about it. I have lots of other industries going, but I wanted to try and do something, especially after the 3rd and 4th year went by and I was still not getting anywhere. And I finally broke down and looked it up, and lots of conflicting reports, so here I am doing a video to hopefully disprove stuff and prove stuff, and it's better than all the write-ups I've seen. I'm sure there's YouTube videos on this as well, since everyone's on YouTube these days. Take the opportunity to say as well, like, some of these achievements are really bass-ackwards, if you will, because of how Giants has set them up. It seems really dumb or overly ridiculous for the player. Not really ridiculous. I mean, I get it if that's what they really wanted, but I think some of these were oversights where, especially things like crops and things like grapes, grains, and those types of things, where if you use them in a production cycle, it doesn't count. You have to straight up sell them. Why that's the thing, I don't know. half the time it's even the same building, it's just that you can't own it and use it for production. You have to get cash for the achievements to work. It's one of the main themes all along most of the achievements is that you have to straight up sell it. You can't use it for anything else, which sucks because when I started doing these I had about 3/4 of the map was mine. I don't use mods, so this is mostly just my ridiculous amount of playing that's got me to this point. And trying to keep my pigs and chickens and cows and all that stuff alive while I'm balancing around trying to sell crops and things for achievements has been challenging, but it's just one of the last ones on this map for me, I think. Or I think you can do this on any map. I have to collect all the toys, and I have to use a save file that's a year old, which I'm probably coming up to on this map. Honestly, it's my first map. This is my first farm sim, and it's my first year, I guess. Whenever this came out, I was about a month after it released when I started. So I'm pretty proud of the map, and I'm ready to take a break and move on from the map because I've been playing it for almost a year, but I've gotten pretty far. I'm sure it's a lot of information people didn't sign up for when they're looking for this video. That's the $7 wage payment that happened from me letting the robot do that 10 feet of cotton. And yeah, because I don't use mods, I've seen many streamers with mods all over the place. Way too many mods in my opinion. But that's just me. And no, I'm not a boomer. I just prefer to work within the confines of what the game is, and in this day and age it's harder and harder because more and more of the game is made by the players vis-a-vis mods, which kind of is disgusting when you think about it, how much these companies are charging for half-finished games that players are adding all the things that are missing themselves. It's going pretty decently. Tractor flips or weird bale mishaps. Yeah, the main thing to remember, I'm sure I'll say it several times during this video, but it's very important. All of the bales have to be dumped at the same time. So when you log in, you have to have them saved somewhere on the map. Don't dump them here and there over years because it resets every time you log back on. So that in itself is a bit of a dick move by Giants, in my opinion. But it depends, I guess, how much of an industry you have. And the fact that I'm trying to cheese it by doing 25% bales instead of full bales, I guess that's kind of a dick move too, so we're even. Oops, close to the wall. Ugh, I feel like I should be farther along than I am by this point. Unfortunately, there's no bales sold number anywhere. There's bales created that's gone because I've created them this afternoon and then piled them all over here and then saved it so that I could do this video. Mostly just trying to prove to myself and others that you can do it without using full bales because that's even more ridiculously expensive. And at the same time trying to help newer players, achievement hunters, whatever, that are finding some of the ridiculous, like limited information on sites and things, or conflicting information hard to, well, that was, I saw that coming at one point, and I thought that would happen more than it hasn't, to be honest. Usually, you slow, turns backwards, and the bales go flying off all the time. But decided to do this off stream today, just because of the sheer amount of nonsense I would have to do that was repetitive. You could use this as a tractor ASMR if you really wanted to while I'm doing this, but it's too much talking, I'm sure, for that. Trying to think of what else I could add besides just actually handing them all in at once and hoping that it works. The explanations at the beginning, as good as I can think of at the moment. If anybody has any other questions about this particular achievement, you can put them in the comments below, and I do read them as often as a couple of times a day. Sometimes I don't necessarily make the videos right away if I'm making a new video for someone who requests it. Mostly it's been requests off streams, not from YouTube itself. But that's what it's there for. That's what I'm trying to do with this site. My limited knowledge spread around. There we go. So I think this is like 17 here. So we're over half done. For some stupid reason I started piling them on top of each other. I don't know. I thought I was going to need more space than I did, and I kind of realized that when I was at about half. But it shouldn't be bad. Probably another couple of minutes. It's too long. That'll be sad. I actually broke my rule of never capping the monitor just for this, so that if and when the achievement pops up, that everyone can see it happen, so that they know that this is what it is. It did take 2-3 hours, I would say, this afternoon, over the last, mostly this afternoon, but over the last day or so, for me to log on and play enough to harvest the 40 bales, even though, again, it's not my full amount of cotton. I went nuts with cotton this season for that reason, so I can get this done and then try and put the rest into the actual clothing industry, which is, I think, consists of 5 fabric makers and 4 clothing factories, which are supplemented by a few sheep. 3 barns at the moment, but that'll hopefully go way down. I was only using 1 before I decided to do this, and it was just for, I think one of the barns was only a bit under full from my field. One of the fabric factories, so you put a little wool in over top. I guess that's another thing I could say as well. The clothing factories in general are one of the factories that divides the material, and doesn't double the product, so it makes, you know, such and such amount. I think it's like 2,500 liters of fabric if it's running all month. If you put in just cotton, it'll make that much. If you put in just wool, it'll make that much, give or take. I think cotton's a tiny bit more efficient. But if you put cotton and wool in, all it will do is use half the amount of cotton and wool. It'll use them both, and it'll combine them into the same amount of stuff, so it'll last twice as long. This is good sometimes, and this is bad sometimes. There are other industries, mostly I think like the flour and sugar kind of factories and stuff will multiply how much they're outputting by the amount that's in there, instead of just dividing the materials in half for each one you add. Furniture factories and things, the old ones anyways, did the same thing, where if you put logs in as well as planks, it would use both at half as the rate and still output the same amount of furniture. So close. I can see the end of the tunnel here. I really probably should have done a few of these before I started and just did it in progress, but there's actually 40 bales going in right now, so another reason why you save it right before you drop them, again, in case of an emergency, of a crash or a power outage or anything, and you'd be really pissed off if it and autosave is not on either for that reason. So if something happens right at the end of this, I'll have to do the whole thing over again. But otherwise, if it doesn't work, I want the option to go back and use this cotton for something this year instead of this, and then I'll realize you have to actually have the full bales, and then I'll wait, and that'll just like, I'll contribute some of them every year in a big pile, because I do use this for more than just cotton. Drop milk here every day, I think, and I think that's about it. So I can't necessarily block the roadways. A lot of tire tracks everywhere. But yeah, I can't block it for a whole year because of, or for several years it would probably take. And I can't, I don't think, sustain every field I have being cotton either for more than 1 year at a time. So this year I'll have to probably go back, because otherwise I'll have to shut off several industries. My oil, the pig feed. I have a small surplus when I'm using corn as well as sorghum, and I do not if I'm just using sorghum, even though I use 3 fields worth. I have 2 full pig barns, and they are called pigs for a reason. Hungry little buggers. Seven more bales after this one, and we will see the moment of truth. Pretty excited, actually. I said it's been 4 or 5 in-game years of work. So much work. So much disappointment. So much WTF, Giants. And then finally breaking down and doing it. I like to try and do it on my own. Like I said, it's just the way I am. It's more of a challenge that way. But this one was... I do have a limit at which I'm willing to bang my head against a wall. And now we'll see. Either way, if this doesn't work... If this doesn't work, I probably won't upload this, to be honest. If it does, then it doesn't matter. If it doesn't, I'll probably reshoot this with full bales in about, 10 years when I actually have enough to do it. If I can stomach doing it again, because it's a lot and I want to take a break from the game. Actually, this is one of the last achievements I have, because there's so many other things I want to play, and I've been playing this game for like a year. Very, very, a lot. Still no achievement. Yeah, I went through just thinking at the beginning when I first started this again. I was a massive noob at the beginning. It took me months, or it took me in-game years and years just to figure out how most of the things worked. Then it kind of took even longer to figure out what I wanted to do, or what I enjoyed doing enough to do it as a full thing, industry or whatever. Just for reference, it's logging, woodwork. You can see over there, as I've gone by a million times, a forest that I built with a zillion trees. It's kind of overdone, but we won't talk about that. The furniture business, the clothing business, the pigs and the cows. I do have 10 animal barns, which is the cap. 4 cows, 2 pigs, 3 sheep, and a chickens at the moment. The sheep have gone up and down in numbers from all the way to, from none to, I think I had 8 at the peak, which is my clothing business at the time. And it's been a long ride, and then I decided at some point to do the achievements. I had a bunch done. I worked on a bunch separately just by kind of figuring out what they were. One of the downsides I would say of this game is there's very little. I mean, there's tooltips, yes, but a lot of specific things that people might be asking that have never played before. It's very difficult to find that information in the game. They do have a lot of general information, but maybe that's on purpose. So you have to learn it the hard way, or I think most people just go look it up. I did have some viewers help me on my stream, though. That's true. Some that are already taking a break. This was their main game, and they're kind of done before I am, so I still can't believe how much I really fell into farming. I never thought I would love it, but it's a fantastic game. It's another thing you'll find with my videos. I'm very critical about a lot of things. I notice things and I give you my opinion on it. It's not to say that this isn't a fantastic game with ridiculous amounts of things to do. I think I'm over just over 1,000 hours now for the year, which I don't know what the math is on that, but it's too much. Okay, here we go. I have a strong urge to save it right now, but we'll see. It's like a butterflies in my stomach. See if it actually works. Oh, there it is in the bottom right. Gone, but not for cotton. So there you have it, folks. The 25% bales will work. Again, I'll show one more time because I did happen to do this with all of them. You have the robot going along. You have to bounce in between all your harvesters or your one harvester when they hit 25%, or when the top hits 100%, it'll move 25% of the bale into the bale area of the harvester, like so. Shut it off. You hit Y. It spits it out. At this point, since there's no other bale back there, that's all there is. You can just hit this and hit H again, and they'll be off to the races going again. Usually, and if there is, you would stop it like before. You'd hit this. This one will come out first while you're backing up, and then you hit it again, and the one starts coming out. As soon as that other piece starts opening up, you can just hit it and let the robots go. But for now, I will say I hope this helps for people that have had issues and questions about doing this. I know I sure did. For now, I'm going to sign off because my voice is about to go, and I'll see you guys on the next video.